To share a teaching with you guys that I use for myself, but I teach this to a lot of my clients, and it's about learning how to be lonely. Okay, so it might sound weird, might sound like, why would I want to learn to be lonely? Don't I want to get away from being lonely and feel connected? But I think part of the human experience for us is to learn how to tolerate emotions that are on the full range of the spectrum. Loneliness all the way to connection and love, right? So we want to be able to have tolerance, and we want to be able to have an understanding of working with all of these emotions. So but first, before I get into it, I want to preface that the reason why I came up with this topic is because this is one of the primary things that gay men are struggling with. This is the reason why we brought this brotherhood forward, is because of loneliness and disconnection in the community. So I want you to know that you're not alone in your loneliness at all. This is one of the most common things that I work with within myself and work with my clients. So you're not alone in your loneliness. I want to preface that, okay? But one of the reasons why I wanted to share this with you today is because when we learn to develop a tolerance to our loneliness, we start to see that our loneliness actually starts to become something that's not as scary or as fearful. And there's a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh that says, when we learn to suffer, we suffer much less, okay? And I basically just take that quote and I take out the word lonely, and I said, when you learn how to be lonely, you experience much less loneliness, right? Because loneliness is something that we judge, and we confuse aloneness for loneliness, right? We're all meant to experience aloneness because we're meant to be with ourselves, and it's in this relationship that we have with ourselves in solitude that we find the answers to who we are, that we're able to connect with ourselves, so then we can connect and love others. So there's an element of aloneness that's really important, but when we call it loneliness, we take that experience of solitude and we judge it, and we make it into be something that we need to move away from or get away from. So today I want to share with you guys just how we can start to experience loneliness, but in a safe way, okay? So up until now, we've been judging our aloneness as loneliness, and we've been saying it's not desirable, it feels uncomfortable for us, so we want it to change. And when we can start to, instead of run from our loneliness, we can start to move towards our loneliness, we'll notice that we'll develop a tolerance to our loneliness. And in that tolerance is where we find acceptance, and we find peace, and we find the answers to what we're actually yearning for. And then we stop trying to grasp onto these things, these relationships, these people, our habits, right? And we start to find just a kind of an inner peace and an inner solitude. So it's really important to note that loneliness needs to be felt. It needs to be acknowledged in order for us to develop this tolerance to it, okay? So we need to move into it. We need to allow ourselves to experience it. So one thing that I want to point out is that when we all have experienced loneliness, okay? It's very common for us to experience this, but when we have this judgment of it, we repress it. We don't want to experience the loneliness, so we shove it down. We distract ourselves from it, right? We watch porn, we masturbate, we have sex, we play video games, we eat, we work, we scroll on our phone. We do all of these things to run from our loneliness, but sometimes all we need to do is just take 10 minutes and sit with it and allow that emotion to be felt, and it releases and it moves on. But if we keep storing it inside of ourselves, we end up developing what I call like an emotional onion. It's layers of this repressed energy of loneliness that's been encapsulated inside of us. And when we start to do this work, where we start to sit with our loneliness, it might feel so intense because you're allowing all these other little layers of loneliness, onion layers to release as well. So what I want to let you know is that when you first start to sit with loneliness and start to develop a tolerance to it, it will be very intense. But that's why we're gifted as human beings with the beautiful ability to be able to purge, to cry, to experience anger, to shake, to have these visceral physical experiences where we can discharge this energy. So really tune into this in yourself and go into the body. When you have these experiences to wanting to judge your emotions, your loneliness, This is the mind telling you that it's unacceptable because it feels uncomfortable. And then the mind creates the experience that we have in our body, right? So when we have this knot in our tummy, or we have this hollow feeling in our chest, or tension in our body that we're carrying, oftentimes it's because we have an experience in our mind, and we judge that experience, and then the body is giving you the experience that it's having of the mind. So the best way to deal with loneliness is to be with it in the body, and not in the mind, where it's constantly being judged and trying to be moved away from. So be very, very mindful. Take some breaths, and this is the work, right? This is the work. This is the uncomfortable trudging through the swamp work that none of us want to do, but we need to do it if we want our life to feel easier to live, right? So next time you have an urge to want to move away from your loneliness, I'm going to encourage you to right? Step into courage, and sit with your loneliness. Sit with the uncomfortable feeling that you don't want to sit with, because I guarantee you it'll take 10 minutes for it to release. But when you run away from it, you're storing it inside of you, and this emotion is being encapsulated inside of you. And then we wonder why we have all these dysfunctional behaviors and these things that we're doing, because we're stuck in this subconscious layered up energy inside of our body. Okay? So I want to leave you with this. What are you doing to avoid your loneliness? Think about that. What are you doing to avoid your loneliness? Right? For me, I scroll. That's my thing, right? I don't do drugs. I haven't even been really eating sugar, but that was a big one for me in Asia. When I was there, I was eating a lot of sugar, but I'm a scroller. That's what I do when I'm feeling that sense of just that uncomfortable stillness, that tension inside me that doesn't want to be still and sit with myself. So I start to do that. So ask that to yourself, and then I want you to try, just even for today, just try when you have an urge to do that one thing that's going to help you escape your loneliness. Don't do it, and choose to go in and sit with your loneliness and see what comes up. Okay? If you need some support through this, reach out to your fellow brothers and ask them what they do when this comes up. Or if you're feeling the intensity of this, then make a post in the group and get some support in this, because this is why we're all here for you. Okay? Hopefully that gives you some value. Definitely please share your thoughts and your feelings below on this. I know loneliness is a big one for everybody, and I know this is a real tough one. So the more we can come together and support each other in this, that we will be able to kind of move forward and find that inner peace that I know that we're all looking for. So sending you guys all so much love today. Have a great week. Take care. Bye.